Thank you, everyone, for being with us this evening. Um, here in on the East Coast, it's 3 in the afternoon. We know it's later in the day and the evening for you, so we're very grateful that you could join us today for this special open house program for given by HCI together with all under the leadership of Dr. Balcom for the Family Federation Europe and Middle East North Africa region. So thank you for taking time to be here. It's our pleasure to share with you today. So without further ado, I'd like to get started. And to get started, I'd like to introduce our president. If everyone could be careful to mute themselves, I'm kind of running the program and managing the Zoom. So be sure to be muted. I'd like to introduce Dr. Thomas G. Walsh, our president here at HJI. We've been so blessed to have Dr. Walsh here. His able leadership is guiding our institution well. We're doing really well in so many areas, which I'm sure he'll mention briefly here. Dr. Walsh is well known to many of you. He served our true parents for many decades. I think one of his most significant accomplishments has been the effort that he made historically for the Universal Peace Federation under the guidance of our true parents. And until just recently, he was the international chair for the Universal Peace Federation. So I could go on and on, but I'm going to just give the floor to Dr. Walsh so he can begin his opening remarks, and we'll get started with our program. Dr. Walsh?
Thank you very much, Dean Boyd. It's really great to be here. Thank you, Dr. Balcom, for making time and for bringing together such a strong group. I know you've all had a busy day. Just like to share a few words. It's exciting to be here at HJI. We are in the process of moving into a new campus at the New Yorker Hotel, which we're excited about. It's a beautiful facility. We're in close proximity to HSA. I can see Reverend Dunkley and other principals of HSA regularly, and we dialogue a lot about the development of our programs and our school. So it's a great development for us that we're quite excited about. The other thing just to mention is that this 2025 is the year of our 50th anniversary. So in September of 1975, this institution was founded by our true parents in Barrytown, New York, as you know. So we're going to really develop several programs coming up soon. We will have our 50th graduation commencement ceremony in May of this year. We're excited about that. And we'll have a number of webinars and special events throughout the year to begin to honor over the next year this important landmark. We are grateful for True Mother's support. She is the one that initiated the reorganization and the renaming of this institution to broaden it out, to keep and maintain our important legacy, our tradition of theological education, expanding it more broadly into the areas of peace studies and thinking about the application of theological education and religious education to the wider world and the current realities of our world. How can we transform this world? And education is a critical part of that. I'm an alum from 1979, as is my wife. We met at UTS. It's been an important part of my life. When I think of even alums such as Dr. Balcom, UTS and HGI played a critical role in his life. He brought great value to the institution, but also his education served him well. He's the first recipient of the DMin program. That's the doctorate in ministry that we offer. And many of our leaders globally are graduates of this institution. So we've gathered today in hopes that many of you will give serious consideration to enrolling in HJI, find out the exciting developments underway and what it can bring to your life and your mission and your vision of your future. And that doesn't just apply, although we're deeply interested in the younger generation. We also know that we've had wonderful students that bring not only gain from HCI, but actually bring great value. You know, I saw earlier, and I know there's others, but Giorgio Gasparoni, I've had in one or two classes of my own. He's a great student. The other students learn from him as well. And I just have to say, Dr. Balcom, Europe has really brought to this institution great students that we're proud to have as graduates. We're going to hear from a couple of our graduates, but I want to turn it over to my good friend and longtime colleague, Dr. Balcom, to say a few opening words.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Walsh. I remember when I first was recommended for UTS by Wonpil Kim. Now, many of you don't know Wonpil Kim, but of course he was one of Father's most early and trusted disciples. And he drew me aside one day in 1991 and said, you know, I think it's time you went to America and that you went to UTS. And at the time, I was not particularly keen. I said to him, but Reverend Kim, I'm not really interested in theology, and I have a family. I have 3 children, in fact, and how am I going to do that? And he said to me, look, do you want to be closer to true parents? I said, yes. He said, if you knew how much true parents had invested in UTS, you wouldn't be making these weak excuses. Wonpil Kim was a fairly blunt-spoken guy. So I went. And as Dr. Walsh said, it was really a transformational moment. I was 35 at the time, and I graduated with an MDiv. I was 37, and unexpectedly went back 12 years later to do the doctoral program that Dr. Walsh mentioned. And it is true that the things I learned at UTS over the course of those years of postgraduate study have been immensely valuable in every aspect, really. Not just theology, but in the ability to write, to present, to make plans, to argue, but not in a combative way with my peers from different churches and religions and faiths. And I meet many people who've been through similar training, and almost immediately we feel a common bond. Yeah, that's important. But what I really comes to mind when I think about my time at UTS is meeting with true parents, particularly True Father, who came often to the campus. And then later, as I shared on our prayer call half an hour ago, when it came time to present to him my doctoral effort. When I met True Mother, shortly after Father passed, it was, I think, September 2012, and she called me to Korea, and I sat down in front of her, very close, actually, and she said, you're that doctoral graduate from UTS, aren't you? I was sort of, yes, Mother. She said, well, let me tell you something more important. Do you know about the tradition of filial piety? And she proceeded to give me a short crash course on filial piety. But since then, I've realized that actually Mother herself is a theologian and a scholar, and that she speaks from experience when she talks about the path of Christianity, the role of the different saints of Jesus. She has something that she wants us to learn. Now, there are many demands on our time right now. That's true. If you decide to get a degree at UTS, it will take you at least 2 years, but they will be well spent 2 years. And we only go this way once. So whether you're 20 or 70, there's something there for everybody. Tonight, I just ask that you listen, and then you go and pray and ask God, is it my time to get closer to true parents through now the Hyojong Institute, which is an amazing institution. You can see how much Mother cares about it by the person she's put in charge, one of her most trusted and loyal lieutenants for so many years. So thank you so much for joining this evening. I'll pass back to Dean Boyd to lead us into the next part of the program. At least I think I'll pass back to Dean Boyd.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. My apologies if I'm a little fat-fingered this evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you tonight. Thank you, Dr. Balcom, for engaging so many members from the region. As you can see, we have right this moment 111 individuals on the call, which is a really important gathering. So we're going to use your time as best we can. So let me go to my PowerPoint first. You should be able to see my slides, correct? Great. There's a lot to think about when you move towards a degree program. So the first thing that I think I would like to point out before we go any further is that HGI is a different reality than what UTS was years ago. And the first bullet point up here is that the word online. All of our coursework is available online now. So what this means is that different from the early days when true parents would send selected brothers and sisters to study at UTS, you no longer need to move from where you live. You no longer need to give up your mission or your job. You can do your studies at HGI completely online from the comfort of your home or wherever you choose to engage us from. This allows the fact that it is online. You can work around your full-time mission, your family responsibilities, your career activities, any job that you have. Naturally, we're all very busy people. And so we're so grateful that we've been able to take this step. We did this prior to COVID. We made a seamless transition under COVID. And our students, I think, are realizing the benefits of being able to study from their homes. Most of our students are part-time, which means you take 1 or 2 courses per semester. A full-time student is someone who takes 3 courses minimum. You can take more. And as Dr. Balcom explained, you need for a master's degree, you'll need a minimum investment of approximately 2 years to complete your degree if you work steadily at it, and we try to encourage you to do so. One of the things I know that everyone is concerned about is how can I pay for this? We're so grateful to be able to offer to you generous scholarships, which I'll talk about in a minute, which can be a great aid to your ability to enroll at HJI. And also, we're very thankful to Dr. Balcom and the leadership in the Family Federation region in Europe and Middle East for additional support that has come. We know that that's key to your ability to be with us. These are our programs of study. We have actually 5 different programs. The highest degree is our Doctor of Ministry, which was mentioned earlier. We have a Master of Divinity, which is a professional degree in the field of ministry. Many those that take this in traditional Christianity are individuals seeking to be ordained within their denomination, or who want to have the finest training to be able to be an excellent leader of their congregation or in church-related activities. We also have a Master of Religious Studies, which is, sometimes we call it a mini Master of Divinity because it focuses upon the field of religious studies and theological studies. Our newest program is the Master of Arts and Peace Studies. It's a program that is focused upon, as Dr. Walsh explained, the focus that HI is moving towards based on our True Mother's guidance in the world of peace. And finally, we have a certificate in unification leadership, which I'll describe in a minute. Just quickly, the Master of Arts and Religious Studies consists of core courses such as Old and New Testament studies, church history, divine principle studies, introductory and advanced systematic theology, and other courses. Our students in the Master of Arts in Religious Studies can choose to concentrate in the areas of non-public and nonprofit leadership, interfaith peace building, theological studies, etc. The Master of Arts in Peace Studies core courses include, these are folks that who may be involved in the Universal Peace Federation or the Women's Federation or youth activities in relationship with the UN and other NGOs. Core courses include peace and conflict studies, diplomacy and faith-based diplomacy, unification approaches to peace, diplomacy and conflict analysis and transformation. These are some of the core courses which are requirements in the degree program. And as you can see on the right, there are other electives which you can choose to fill out your degree program. Ethics and social justice, ecumenism and interfaith, marriage, family, and human development, etc. The Master of Divinity is a more lengthy degree. It's 80 credits in total. And the curriculum includes biblical studies, church history, ethics and social justice, leadership and congregational development, pastoral care and counseling, and spiritual formation, among other areas. It also, you see at the bottom of the slide there, has a field component, a field education component called clinical pastoral education, which is a valuable exercise in learning to become a chaplain, for example, or to have a direct service relationship that's faith-based. Finally, the Doctor of Ministry. The Doctor of Ministry is a terminal degree. It's the highest degree which you can receive in the field of ministry. And coursework includes spiritual formation, integration, transformational leadership, theological and ethical perspectives on leadership. These are the areas of study, but naturally on a doctoral level, students are required to complete a dissertation project. And so there are various training courses in that area to learn how to do your research on the topic that you select based upon the ministry that you have. So the last one I'd like to mention is the Certificate in Unification Leadership. We'd like to encourage you, if you're interested in entering into a degree program, to apply directly to one of our degree programs. It requires serious study, but if you're not sure, you may want to take one or two courses and complete the Certificate in Unification Leadership. That's kind of what I did. When I came to work at HJI about a little over 5 years ago, I already have a master's degree in MBA. I was not planning to do any further studies on the graduate level, but because I'm here at the seminary, I wanted to learn more, wanted to engage with our students and faculty, I decided to take a course. One course led to another, and before I knew it, I had 6 courses completed, and I received my Certificate in Unification Leadership. And that started me, in my case, on the pathway to enter the Doctor of Ministry program where I'm currently studying. We can talk more about how that works, but this is a good first certificate. You can use this Certificate in Unification Leadership also and apply it towards your master's degree in religious studies or peace studies also. So you may want to think about that. I mentioned scholarship opportunities. Our first generation students will automatically receive a 50% scholarship. That's against the cost of tuition. Our next generation leadership scholarship is for second generation emerging leaders. If you're a second generation member, either you're a current leader or you're aspiring to be a leader, we can offer to you a 70% tuition scholarship against the cost of tuition. It's a significant help. But just to give you an idea of what our real costs are, one course in our studies, typically they're all 3-credit courses. I know this is a different system from Europe, but one course globally will cost approximately $1,800. If you receive a 50% scholarship, that cost is reduced to $900. If you receive a 70% scholarship, that cost is reduced to approximately $540. And I know that Dr. Balcom has been generous in his region in offering support to those brothers and sisters who have applied to HGI to help cover these costs, at least partially. So that's the financial side, so to be clear. But let me talk a little bit about what I believe you will experience when you come to HJI, because some of you, I think, probably already thinking about applying. Dr. Belk got a couple of applications actually today, so really grateful to receive those applications from Europe. But like me, I think what you will find when you come into the classroom, you may have been out of the classroom for many years. You may have just finished your bachelor's degree, recently done a master's degree. But having worked in higher ed now for almost 25 years at various institutions, I was inspired to be back in the classroom. Honestly, I was a little bit afraid. You think you're a little bit too old to go in and face younger students, but actually extremely stimulating. Very engaging classroom, and honestly, our members are very bright and inspiring. Our students, both unifications and non-unifications, are fully engaged. Our faculty is highly qualified, receiving their doctoral degrees from the most prestigious institutions in America. And it's so wonderful to be in this setting in conversation with and studying together with both first and second generation unificationists. We learn so much about each other. And as I mentioned, beyond that also, it's just a wonderful opportunity to be in a setting where you can engage with people of other faiths and to get an idea of what that means to dialogue with them. You expand your own knowledge, and at the same time, you're developing your own leadership capacity. I know I have felt this. This is my experience. If you're seeking to apply, the ideal candidate is someone who already has a bachelor's degree, who has English language proficiency. And because of our admissions criteria and our accreditation standards, you will have to demonstrate through examinations that you're competent in the English language, so the IELTS, the TOEFL, or the Pearson PTE. So with that, I'm going to close my comments. This is my contact information. Dr. Balcom will make this PowerPoint available to you to distribute in your region. You're welcome to apply today. Normally, and you'll have this link, I'll put it in the chat box, but normally it's a $30 application fee, but we're happy to waive that for you today. So with that, I'll conclude. What we're going to do now, we're going to move into to give you an idea of what kind of coursework is available in the coming semester. I'll share with you the link to the course schedule so you can see all the many courses that are offered both synchronously and asynchronously. We're going to show you a very short video, which is, forgive the choppiness of it. It's not completely smooth because we patched together a minute or so of 3 or 4 different videos of courses that are being offered this semester, just to give you an idea. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and play that video.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Theory of Human Nature, Philosophy, Power, and AI. I'm Professor Noda, Professor of Philosophy. We will inquire into the central, one of the most profound questions. What does it mean to be human? There are a number of questions. Are we primarily rational, guided by reason and logic? Or are we emotional, driven by feelings and desires? Do we truly possess free will? Or are we actions, or our actions are determined by forces beyond us? Can AI, machines that process language and data, ever truly think, feel, or become unconscious? And perhaps the most personal question, what gives life meaning?
Hello, and thank you for your interest in this course on the United Nations and civil society. Civil society is a term that refers to non-governmental organizations. So we'll be looking at not only the work of the United Nations, which is made up of member states, that's countries like Germany and Spain and Mexico and Brazil and Samoa, India, etc., and non-governmental organizations like Universal Peace Federation. So United Nations and civil society, these are some scenes from the headquarters on First Avenue near 45th Street, just down the road from where HJI is located. Our founders have spoken several times here at this venue, as well as United Nations headquarters in Geneva and Vienna. Please consider, I think it's very important for peace studies students as well as religious studies students, but any student can benefit richly because the study of the UN is not unrelated to the study of religion because the central focus is peace.
What if Korean history isn't just the story of one nation far away, but what if it's a divine narrative that connects ancient wisdom to God's ultimate purpose for all of us? Welcome to our Unification Studies Seminar on the providential history of the Korean people, where we'll explore the epic story of how God works through history. Hi, I'm Dr. Thomas Sellover. This unique HJI course examines the epic history of the chosen Han people of Korea through the lens of sacred history, what theologians call Heilsgeschichte. Don't worry, we'll talk about that. Just as Christians see the Old Testament as leading up to and preparing for Jesus Christ, we'll explore Korean history as preparing for the unprecedented providence in our time today.
Peace has always been very central to unificationists, but that doesn't mean that there has always been an awareness of all the things that have happened in history in terms of efforts towards peace, and especially the contemporary academic discipline of peace studies, which is a reason why we have at HJI a graduate program in peace studies. My name is Dr. Claude Perrotet, and I will be teaching Peace and Conflict Studies, which is one of the foundational courses that introduces this discipline. We will be looking at the origins, the identity of peace studies, what it is, how it developed, and some of the key elements, the most fascinating, significant, and sometimes controversial parts of this topic.
Okay, so that was a brief view of some of our courses that are available. Dr. Walsh, I'll pass it back to you for now. Just as a note, Dr. Desautels is struggling a little bit with her computer, so maybe we can introduce John first.
Okay, thank you, Dean Boyd. And just to clarify, those courses will be offered this fall starting at the end of August. In about a month, they'll open up along with about 20 other courses. So keep that in mind, and you can find the course offerings at our website under academics. But I'd now like to introduce two of our recent graduates, Mr. John Kester and Dr. Mika Desautels. John Kester is a Canadian, but has studied at HJI very happily. He was among the first students to enter the Peace Studies MA. He graduated with honors. I was happy to have him in my course on the United Nations. He went on to do internship there. He is now enrolled at the University for Peace, a UNESCO endorsed graduate school in Costa Rica. And he will begin his studies in August. Hopefully we'll get Dr. Mika Desautels. She just graduated from the DMIN program and was featured in our recent graduation. She gave one of our valedictorian addresses on that occasion. But hopefully Dr. Desautels will join us soon. But John, will lead off with you to say a few words about HJI.
Thank you, Dr. Walsh. Hi, everyone. My name is John. So I'll get right into it. I chose HJI because I wanted to align my career and my studies vertically. I studied international relations before HJI, but wanted to understand on a deeper level about history and conflict. HJI offered this space not only to study, but to reflect and understand how faith and action go together. The environment that really cultivated a sense of calling that I didn't yet have full words yet, but I really deeply felt it. And so I had profound experiences with courses like unification worldviews and peace studies that provided clarity on how to approach many of the different debates going on currently in society and how to position myself in that arena so I could continue working in politics. What really stood out for me was how much HGI emphasized leadership, grounded in heart. I wasn't just learning theology and philosophy, but was learning how to connect with people, to listen, to serve, and to lead with purpose. And then I began, of course, to understand that spiritual maturity is linked to public responsibility. And I wanted to find a way to live that out, especially in spaces where young people often felt unheard or invisible. I started seeing myself not just as a student, but as someone who could serve a larger community or this movement even. I was constantly being challenged to think about how faith translates into real action and how can we make a difference through civil society. That question was key to me because it that helped me understand like the impact that our movement can have through its various NGOs and nonprofits. We know many of those organizations have existed for over time, but I don't think we really crucially understand the impact this has had and how generally in society can have an impact, and maybe even more so than governments or institutions like the UN, which is where I will lead to next. Right now we hear a lot of political turmoil being present everywhere, and I think that can lead us to be quite quickly disillusioned. I want to mention this one study that came out 6 years ago, I think, that determined that it takes 3.5% of the population actively participating in nonviolent protests to actually create change. They call this the 3.5% rule, and I think that really demonstrates how civil society and as a movement we can create change. And then when I went on to do my internship during HGI, the Peace Studies program offers an internship component. I went to the United Nations Department of Peace Operations for 6 months, and I saw very quickly how reliant the UN and many of its countries are on civil society to complement many of the work that they're doing, inform the UN, and also for NGOs to keep governments accountable. When I did my bachelor's in international relations, the role of civil society was never really appreciated. So that I really appreciated through HGI, seeing our movement's impact and how we can continue that impact through NGOs. And so after graduation, then I worked with YSP, Youth and Students for Peace, working on United Nations relations, representing youth, leading youth engagement, organizing events, and also helping young people from different countries raise their voices on global issues like peace and education, including youth from our various YSB chapters. A lot of what I do now it's connected to hosting events and mentoring, but it's also connected directly to the foundation I built at HGI. It gave me like this moral compass, the courage to take initiative, and the tools to lead in complex environments. So I want to say, if you're deciding whether to go with HGI, wondering what value it holds, I can say it really equipped me with more than knowledge. It gave me alignment with heart and purpose. Now, I don't just work for UPF and YSB, but I also work with UN agencies and governments and youth organizations to work out policy solutions and educational toolkits that we can create for youth and for our youth, for all youth. So to conclude, to anyone thinking about HGI who might feel unsure on what path to take, I want to say that HGI doesn't give you all the answers, but it gives you the right questions, the right people around you, the spiritual grounding to walk on your path with confidence. It's really about what you make out of it. And with that requires initiative to connect further with professors and students, even on your own time. And think about how what you learn can be how you can apply that to your goals and what you want to do during your time at HGI. So I'm really deeply grateful for my time there, and I carry that actually with me in everything I do now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Excellent. Much appreciated.
Hello, and thank you to Dr. Walsh and also Dr. Bowcom for having me on this call. Thank you, Dean Boyd, for sharing important information about the school. My name is Mika Desatel, and I'll be sharing a little bit about my experience at HJI. So I served as a pastor with Family Federation from 2016 until 2022. And I remember in January of 2020, this was right before the pandemic, I felt a very strong call to enroll at HJI. Of course, I, had 4 young children, and there was still the brick and mortar building where students attended classes, and that was not really accessible for me at that time. So I did not know how I would do it, but I knew strongly that I should be a part of the program in large part because I had been serving as a pastor, but I knew that I didn't have any formal religious training or education. And I felt that HJI could equip me with the skills and as Dr. Balcom mentioned, with the kind of the language to be able to converse with other religious leaders. So actually the pandemic was a blessing for me because classes moved to being online. And in the fall of that year, I was able to start taking courses. When my time as a pastor began to come to an end, I wasn't sure exactly why I felt compelled, but I knew that God wanted me to serve in a bigger way, in a bigger level. And so I felt that the natural thing to do would be apply for the Doctor of Ministry program, which I did, and then I began in the fall of 2022. I started with a cohort, many of whom graduated this past May, so that was wonderful. But I actually found what I found at HJI was an incredibly engaging and a healing space, a place for me to digest my experiences in ministry and some of the challenges that I faced. And then to recognize that actually I was capable of being able to make a contribution and make a difference in the movement through my dissertation work. So it took me a little time to realize that, but in this past year, I've invested more into my local community with the knowledge that this was contributing in a greater way to the sustainability of our movement. And I focused on intergenerational worship. So yeah, I found at HJI that it's a nurturing place where our faculty are accessible, they're easy to relate with, and they're more than happy to have dialogue with you, meaningful dialogue, really about current issues and events that our movement is facing, and how we can navigate through them and really feel more empowered and enriched this way. So yeah, I hope that gave you some idea of my experience. And thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to turn it back to you to open up for Q&A and maybe bring Dr. Balcom back on in case, depending on the type of question, any of us can seek to answer, including you, Dean Boyd.
Okay, so I'm putting it in the screen in gallery mode. I hope you can see the gallery mode. You're welcome to type a question into the chat box. If you have, I think there's one question to get us started. First of all, someone's asking about the recording. Yes, we'll have the recording available for you. We'll provide that to Dr. Balcom, and I'm sure he will distribute that through his communications network. Miki Morita asks, can someone who just graduated high school in other words, has no bachelor's degree, still apply for these courses. We are looking for, ideally the candidate will have a bachelor's degree, but HJI, due to its accreditation standards, is allowed to accept into degree programs the Master of Arts and Religious Studies and the Master of Divinity. A certain small percentage of our total enrolled students may be students without a bachelor's degree. So if you don't have a bachelor's degree, and this is the case, I know, of many of our, particularly our first generation brothers and sisters who sacrificed so much in order to dedicate themselves to True Parents Providence, we left our studies, we didn't continue and finish our degree. There still is an opportunity. If you find yourself in that situation, I would suggest that you go ahead and consider taking a course, find out what it's like. It's good to know what a graduate level program of study is like through 1 or 2 courses. Then you can decide to go into a degree program if you wish. So I dropped a link into the chat box for the application. If you do not have a bachelor's degree, what I would suggest is to apply and select non-degree. That'll get you started, and right away I'll be in touch with you. If you have a question, type it into the chat box, or you're welcome to raise your hand also, and we'll call on you. Any questions?
Yeah. Maybe I can just jump in here, Stephen, and talk a little
Sure.
bit about the European support that's available in addition to the HJI scholarships, which are generous. So I'm just sharing my screen. And, you know, the sticker price is quite high, particularly if you come from a country that isn't that wealthy. But when you combine the resources available from HJI and EUME, it's really quite manageable. So in euros, you know, one course is 1,500 euros and a full degree, 24,000. You think, oh, I can't possibly manage that. But take a look. If you get a 50% scholarship, that's 12,000. If you get a 70%, it's only 8,000. And I heard that for a limited number of upcoming leaders, there may even be almost full scholarships available where you only pay the registration fee. So per semester, the figure of 3,000 euros goes down to 1,600, 994, or even almost nothing. However, what about EUME support? So we're also offering 50%, 70%, and well, we don't really do 100% because we think everyone should pay something. But now you can see these numbers are coming down to a much more manageable number. You know, in some cases, if you want a 70% scholarship and you're getting 70% from EUME, we're talking about 300 euros over a course of about 4 months. So I think this is pretty great. When I was at UTS, we had to pay everything ourselves. Of course, the institution was heavily supported by True Father. Anyway, don't let money be your first obstacle, because there's a way to make it work. We're very committed in Europe to supporting HJI and also to encourage our own leaders and members to train themselves so that we can do a better job of bringing True Parents' message to the world. So please don't think, oh no, can't afford it. If you're interested, get in touch and let's see what can happen. Back to you, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malcolm. That's such a critical point. I know that everyone worries about finances, regardless of what the cause is. So thank you for your generous support. And I've heard that gratitude echoed many times through the students that we have from the EUME region. Another question in the chat box is regarding English language proficiency or English language competency. I mentioned in the presentation that you need to demonstrate English proficiency, and normally this is done through one of the standard worldwide English language examinations, the IELTS, which is well known in Europe and around the world, the TOEFL, which is an American examination, and then the Pearson PT, which is also out of the UK. However, if you studied your undergraduate degree where in English was the language of instruction, we would forego that. Naturally, if you're from the UK, one of the Commonwealth countries, then there's no requirement because your studies are done in English. But yes, and if you have concerns about that, please email me. I'll drop my email address in the chat box, and you can communicate with me about that. I can help you with that as best I can. I'm typing my email address in right now. Okay, any other questions or comments?
You might have missed one that just came in, Stephen, which was if you do the certificate, 18 credits, are those credits transferable to a master's degree should that person think, you know what, I want to upgrade?
Yes, thank you. I did miss that one. Thank you. That's a good question. And the answer is yes. In fact, the certificate program is designed specifically to be able to make that happen. A good idea, honestly, is to start, again, particularly if you're not sure, haven't studied for a while at this level, to take a class that can contribute towards your certificate program. And there are certain kind of courses you need to take at unification studies, ministry, and theological studies. But together with your faculty advisor, you're able to coordinate your courses so that whatever you take will apply towards a degree that you anticipate entering into, being the Master of Religious Studies or the Master of Peace Studies. It was a good stepping stone, and so no value is lost there. So yes, good question. Anything else?
There's one here about applying for courses in the spring. Is that possible?
Yes. We're usually able to accept applications to a particular semester a year in advance. So right now we're accepting applications for the fall, but we do have a few applications already for spring. Students who don't have time or ability or plans to study in the fall term or are looking towards the spring. So yes, you're welcome to do that. So if you apply, click on the link that I put in the chat box. And then once you get the application open, there's a drop-down list for which term you apply to. Just select spring 2026, and then you'll be on your way. And I'll see that, and I'll help you as best I can.
There's a couple, maybe I can just quickly respond to the,
Yes.
all of our programs, as Dean Boyd said, are offered through a distance learning format, either asynchronously, which means there's never a scheduled time when we have to meet together as a class. The lectures are recorded. You view and study the lecture and the reading assignment on your own schedule and do the weekly assignments. A course is usually 15 weeks. So you do need to stay within that framework. And there are weekly increments that you need to keep up with. But you can do an asynchronous course on your own time. There are courses that are called synchronous, meaning there is a component, usually for 90 minutes, where on Zoom, you meet with your classmates and the professor. You also have a recorded lecture that you view, and the classroom time is more for discussion. So the delivery or allowing you to take it at your own pace and according to your own schedule. That's the value of this distance learning format. So all of the 4 programs that Dean Boyd outlined can be offered either in person at our New York City campus or entirely online. You can go through your program. Dr. Balcom had to go to many intensives during and be there in person, John Kester, but that is no longer necessary, particularly for any of our programs. So their delivery, and that will all be explained to you, and there will be tutorials to help you learn this distance learning platform.
Thank you, Dr. Walsh.
I
One
think
of
we're
our
close
students
to our time limit, Dean Boyd, so we may need to wrap it up quickly, maybe, unless there is an important question out there.
one of our students, EUME students, has sent me a direct message. She has already done classes here at HTI. She entered as a non-degree student and you can begin that without providing an English language test exam result up front. So her question is, will I need it eventually? You can start your classes without having your English language test available. Uh, and then at some point you should submit in order to complete your degree program. So it's a good idea, I think, just to go ahead and start, even if you don't have English proficiency exam.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Walsh. Thank you, Dean Boyd. I think in the interest of those of us in the European time zone, we can call it a day here. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Particularly greetings to our current students for coming back. Please do send your questions. Do pray, first of all, and listen for the voice of God. And maybe our true Father as well has a word to say to you. So thank you very much to HJI. And once again, you have the contact information there from Dean Boyd. And I'll just pass back to you for a final word, Stephen, but thank you from our side.
Thank you very much, Dr. Balcom. It's always a pleasure to come and speak with you and with the students from your region. We've had such good experiences. Time is short tonight. There's a lot to talk about. Please write me. I try to do my very best to answer as quickly as I can and to assist in any way possible. If I don't know the answer, then I'll look for the answer so that we can share with you so that we can get you on your way to studying. Just the last word I would say, Dr. Bauckham, Dr. Walsh, as you both know, this experience, although it requires significant investment of time and energy, is so rewarding. So much comes back that you cannot imagine. As I said at one point in my slideshow, I didn't think about going back to graduate school. I had no intention. I didn't know what I could gain from it. My mind has completely changed. New doors have opened to me, new understanding, new knowledge. And honestly, even though I've been in the movement for many years, I've gained tools and insight that I think has enhanced my ability to be a good leader, to be a good son of our true parents. So if you're thinking about that, as Dr. Bauckham said, the most important thing is take this to Heavenly Parent in prayer. Open your heart. You never know what's over the horizon. And I think for some of you, HGI will be the doorway that opens. So thank you all for coming today.